Hello folks, BloodBrew.com here, Arne at the mic as usually, and in this episode of This Week in Standard and Modern, I'm going to start off with Standard. So I'm going to split this into two parts, so this is all about Standard, and part 2 of this episode will be later on and all about Modern, so don't get confused. There's just so much to talk about Standard right now, because all the major events been passed, and I just wanted to wrap up what's been going on now and how things will change after rotation and what our expectations for the future of Standards and the new season should be. So we're gonna lose Dragons at Dark here, the third set of the previous block, well, not the previous one, but 2 times ago. And also we're gonna lose Magic Origins, and what we're gonna end up with as of right now, just 2 sets for the new Zendikar block and 2 sets of the new Innistrad block, and then we will start off with the Kaladesh and the second set of that block in autumn and winter. But with Standard and Modern, we will have Kaladesh and the previous 2 blocks, the one I mentioned. So what we're gonna lose from those 2 sets, Dragons and Magic Origins, we're gonna lose the most impactful card, I think, in Collected Company. Then Protector on this slot is just representing a bunch of value cards from Dragons, but yeah. No Company, no Jamokus commands, no Ojites commands, no Nisa Vasputsir, no Tragic Arrogance, so, and also some other important cards for other decks from Origins. Tragic Arrogance was just a huge thing for Band Company in the sideboard, and well, Nisa was sometimes in the sideboards, but often also in the main decks as well. This is really huge, and this will really shift the metagame a lot. A lot of people will be quite happy about this, but at the same time, while in GP Rimini there were 6 ban companies in the top 8 and 2 blue-red spells, but the top 32 of that event actually featured a lot of different decks, so really I advise you to check this out and not get really kind of panicky about Band Company in the next few weeks until rotation hits. Also, GP Portland also showed us a lot of different decks because Band Company was there, but it didn't win. It wasn't even in the finals, so don't get ridiculous. Then what other cards we're losing? Together with Tragic Arrogance, we're losing Language, which is huge. So right now we would be left with just Planar Outburst, which costs 5, which is kind of bad. And yeah, a lot of people I think are expecting some kind of sweeper in black, because otherwise it's gonna be pretty tough. We're losing a bunch of sweet cards, a bunch of hate sideboard cards, but also a bunch of really great value cards like Hangerback Walker for Eldrazi decks and for green-white tokens, Colligan's Command for the Grixis control deck, Chase for Band Company for the blue control decks, for many decks. I think even some mid-range value-ish grindy control decks with blue play Chase, so Chase was in quite many decks. Obliteration, one of the greatest answers to Emrakul. Moonlight, one of the greatest answers, not just to a Collected Company actually, but to a bunch of zombie-ish shenanigans that got introduced with the Eldritch Moon. So we're gonna lose a great hate cards, not just for a company, but for that ridiculous dredge kind of deck as well. Demonic Pact was nothing real big, but it's sad to lose such a sweet card when we just got the Harmless Offering, and I was really rooting for that deck in the top 8 of Grand Prix Portland. Then we're also losing Nantucket Husk, which was insane for a separate archetype for all the Aristocrats decks, for those creature combo decks. it was a vital part. We're losing this very huge sacrifice outlets for those decks. But I still think the archetype will live as long as we get something close to Nanzuka Husk, and I really hope we do, because then that's instantly plus one more archetype for the standard after rotation. And yeah, we're also losing a very, very huge series of cards, Painlands. So playing all dread decks with colored spells will be a challenge, even though there are still some lands that give you colorless mana and in certain conditions give you colored mana as well. So yeah, we're lacking Sacrifice Outlet for Aristocrats decks. And the best one so far left out is Voldaran Pariah, but it's just 3 creatures. So it's not really going off with the Zolaport Cutthroat. That deck also loses Liliana Heretical Healer, which is kinda a big deal as well, because then you can't get back ready to play the same turn Cutthroats. You also lose Company as well, which is kinda huge and might kill the deck, but I think it might still be there, especially since you can still go Absent combo as long as you get a Sacrifice Outlet. It's not just Zolaport, you still will have from the Zendikar block the Displacer and the Brood Monitor, so you would still have those creatures. So as long as you get a creature sacrifice outlet, or just a permanent that's a sacrifice outlet which doesn't require you to tap it or pay mana, then you're good to go. There are a bunch of good kind of support cards or value cards like Bloodbriar from Eldritch Moon, but again, you don't have the sacrifice outlet. Another big loss is Duras, which was actually last time in Dragons, and that's pretty big. You still have Transgress, but you would lose this 1 mana discard spells, which is pretty big for aggro decks, actually. And then green-white tokens is under question. You still get your arguably 2 best cards, Nissa and Gideon, but it's not just Hanger back, you lose Secure the Waste as well, which is kind of big in my opinion, for sure, because it loses those free wins, and West Whale Abbey becomes worse as well. But yeah, moving on. So we're losing Band Company, basically. And there are gonna be less and less reasons to play Band. And you would have a lot of those good, cheap value creatures in green, like Daskwatch and Advocate and Tireless Tracker and Sideboard Pacifist. What are you gonna do with those? Okay, you can still use probably Tracker, maybe Advocate, and for sure Daskwatch in the Absent-like combo decks with the Zolaport Cutthroat and the rest. But the deck that might want those creatures doesn't really have to play them. What I mean is the Black-Green Delirium deck, which has a lot of good 1s and 2s already, and it's less about just a quick board presence. You have Grapple, you have Green Flare, you have Traverse, you have the Green Vessel, and then you're more about grinding and just setting up in the few early turns to set up for Ishkana and other bombs, and you can just play Liliana on free and like nuke some small creatures, stuff like this, or keep on milling, and etc. So yeah, it's weird what you're gonna do with those creatures. Perhaps the new incarnation of green-white tokens is gonna utilize trackers and advocates. Perhaps it's gonna be a different deck, I don't know. Maybe there will be something awesome that will suit this kind of strategy in, I don't know, even maybe red in Kaladesh, for example, and then people will play something like red-green beats. I don't know, we will see. The question is, in the new standard season, what's better, black-green delirium or black-white control? We know that at the GP Portland, delirium deck prevailed over black-white control in the finals of that GP. But it doesn't necessarily prove that delirium deck is better. Both have their pluses and minuses. And then the thing is that both decks lose language, and then the next thing is in white, that's Planar Outburst. And then while Unmaking is a great card, but you have a good answer to different things in form of Murder or Ruinous Path. Unless there will be some really important artifacts or enchantments to get rid of. So there is kinda not a huge incentive to be in white unless we really don't get a sweeper in just black. Sorin and Gideon, of course, are huge cards, but black-green, if it really wants to, it can play up Nixilis. I think we saw it in the season's best versions of black-green. Both decks play Liliana, of course. So the comparison and that question about which control grindy deck is better, it's still not going to be resolved, I think, but we get some feeling at least. So of course a lot will depend on Kaladesh, but I think Ceteris Paribus in the vacuum black-green delirium is probably better as a mid-rangey control deck, but things could change, man. Things could definitely change. So new season opens up a lot of possibilities, and decks that have been actually very good in the metagame before Eldritch Moon might show up again. Of course, during this Moon summer season, we had this new archetype blue-red spells with Thermal Alchemist and Favorite Visions. So that's gonna still be there. We'll see whether it's gonna be still good. Probably yes. It will be a bit different, but not so much. I think the deck doesn't lose a huge amount of cards. Then Naya Super Friends might become a deck once again. The deck will lose Atarka, which was a big thing for that deck. That 7-mana dragon was a really good thing, but perhaps this will be a deck which will utilize best the grindy power of the advocates and trackers and etc. And you still have good board clears in that deck. You can play whatever. From Eldritch Moon, I think you get that super tutor for 6 that gets you 2 planeswalkers or something from top 7. So that's great. So we might see re-emergence of that deck. Then Eldrazi decks might show up again, but then that deck lists the Painlands. At the same time, the core of the deck is still there. So if you can work out the mana base, how you're gonna approach it, so that you can still play some colored spells and cast those beat down Eldrazi, then you're good to go, I think. Some self-mill, possibly with green, possibly just blue-black zombies are gonna be a thing, I think, because you already have what is it, 16 amazing cards, and you can discard those amalgams through Haunted Dread, through Crypt Breaker. You don't really have to use green for Vassal and Grapple from the past, but there might be more incentives to do that. Then various flavors of humans, white mini decks could re-emerge again. So far, I think green is a much better splash color than the red for the human stack, because from red you pretty much just get the mainland and the garrison, but from green you get a really good 2-drop in Hamlet Captain, and you get this Heron's Grace Champion, which already some marginal play, though mostly in the sideboards, but that card is pretty decent. And then banned humans will lose the company, and then we're not sure how good the mana bases would be with new duels or without any new duels. And then absence of company frees up this 4 mana slot, so Grace Champion fits into it quite well, and if there will be any playable banned deck, then the 4 mana slot from company can be also filled with Tamio, for example, so Tamio might see more play just because company is gone and you would want some really impactful 4-drop. Emerge decks will be out there, so either black-green X decks or Temur or just blue-green, we will see. Kozilek's Return is still there, so there's a big chance that it will be Temur, and then just the utilizing Mindbender as a value card, but not really going deep with black-green Delirium. But I do have some hope that Decimator will see more play, even though there will be no Secure and no Hanger Backwalker, but each kinda makes 4 bodies with Delirium. And then there are still some other token makers like Nissa, Gideon, but no big spell that generates a bunch of tokens at the same time, really, outside of maybe like Liliana Ultimate, but that doesn't really count. So I think if we see some good token maker in green especially, or in some colors that will fit this general idea, in Kaladesh, then Decimator has a good chance of seeing quite a bit of play, because I think this card is bonkers. It's not probably as bonkers as Crater Hoof Behemoth was, but Hoof was just really absurd. This one is a bit more balanced, slightly more balanced, but still really crazy. So we shall see. I have high hopes for that card. And of course the other emerged creatures are sick. So we lose the Obliteration as an answer to Emrakul. We still have Transgress, we still have Dig the Brain, we have Summary Dismissal, and sometimes Mindbender can actually help there as well. But you see that most of the good answers to Emrakul are in black or blue, which is kind of unfortunate. We're also losing some other blue answers to Emrakul and Delirium decks like Days Undoing, and that's uncommon from Dragon, so 4 mana exile, graveyard, and draw a card. So we're gonna lose those, but we're still gonna have Spell Shrivel from Zendikar block. But yeah, I would like to see more answers to Emrakul in other colors, that's for sure. And then, okay, Banned Company is not gonna be there, and we need a new home for a spell cooler. Okay, Blue-White Spirits seems like it's a playable deck. Okay, but variations are there, so you can go either really deep on spells, or you can just go really for quick beatdown kind of Fairies style, but a bit more towards Winnie's maybe. I've seen Always Watching in the sideboards. I think Archangel Essence should be played in either version because it's just so sick, and it's so easy to trigger it with Selfless Spirit when you really want to. So that's a thing. I don't know, like, what number would I play? I mean, for Avacyn, probably at least 2. I don't know if I want to play 4 in any version, but things could change. if there will be a lot of kind of tribal-ish beatdown decks, then playing 4 Avacens might be a very good idea. But yeah, one of the general things with the Spirits decks and variations is that you want everything flash or sometimes flash. So playing enchantments and sorceries is kind of bad. And when you thought of a great chain between Avacyn and Selfless Spirit, I recently tried to brew something just for the game days, so that was Absent Company. I was really impressed by the synergy between Selfless Spirit and the Origins Liliana, so that was pretty sick. Really liked that interaction, and yeah, really hoping that Kaladesh will bring something that will make Selfless Spirit better. So then Doppelgeist, not anybody is playing this card really, but I think it has potential because you have the Nibelgeist, the 3-mana 1, the kind of a Pastormite impersonator. But I kind of want to make the Spirits deck a bit more beat down, a bit kind of like faster and with more things to do in the early turns and so on. So let's just say that never take Doppelgeist off your radar, so always keep it in mind. And then the card that I think really belongs to Spirits is Stitcher Graft, especially if you play Doppelgeist as your additional 1-drop for creatures. You can't really untap your guys, so neither Toppel or the Nibelgeist untap your guys, but I think this card is still pretty good and it helps you to raise pretty quickly, and it's so cheap and so powerful. So also the card already saw some play, I think, in humans, but I think in Spirits it could also help, especially because a lot of your guys are not really that big. So this could help you to really close up the games quicker, especially because you're such a tempo deck. You can delay your opponent for a lot of consecutive turns, but then you really need to tempo out to damage race in the meantime. If you go for a more spell heavy version of Spirits, Anticipate is a great card, and I think that we'll see it played in more decks, not just in Spirits. Blast Alliance and Collect Outfit are definitely great, and we'll see more of them, but probably most likely more in Spirits, I mean in humans, at least for the effort, or in green-white tokens, so you don't really want sorceries in the Spirits deck. But actually Blast Alliance could be a decent main deck card for Spirits, especially if you decide on playing the craft, because one of the modes on Alliance is to untap 2 dudes. So this way you could actually get a lot of value, etc. Niblis is okay, and yeah, we've seen it in sideboards of the Spirits decks, but I think it might actually shift more into main decks, because it's not a bad main deck card, and then you wouldn't be playing banned humans and banned Spirits because company is gone, so you don't have to really stress yourself about the mana cost on your creatures. I think that's it, guys, for this installment. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the playlists. I do a lot of gameplays occasionally. Sometimes it's a lot videos in a row, so check out the channel, check out the social media. I post a bunch of things everywhere there. Check out the website, though soon the articles and reviews and stuff like this in the text form will be moving to Tinder. Because it's just much easier for me. I do videos regular, but not so much in terms of articles and so on. So yeah, if you guys have any recommendations for what types of materials and articles and so on you would like to read about in the textual form, so let me know. I'll keep that in mind when I'll complete the move to uh, Tumblr, yeah, that's the thing. So also in terms of layout and design, I will listen to some tips. Okay, until the next sale, folks, goodbye.